The ZIL-130 is a legendary truck from the Soviet era that has been produced for decades, starting in 1963. It was a popular vehicle that could compete with classic car models produced by VAZ and is still seen on roads today. This truck can be considered a symbol of its time and has won the hearts of many drivers. It is a reliable and strong vehicle that evokes fond memories for those who owned it. During the 1950s and 1960s, American automobile manufacturers were at the height of their success, and it is possible that engineers and designers drew inspiration from overseas designs when creating the ZIL-130. Elements such as the panoramic glass were likely borrowed from American models. Externally, the ZIL-130 bears resemblance to Tour Series vehicles from International, as well as Dodge Chi Series and Ford F-Series trucks. The GAZ-130 was a specialized truck that was manufactured for almost 45 years and was constantly improved and updated. It was one of the largest trucks in the Soviet Union, second only to the GAZ-51, and is known and remembered by everyone. The history of this vehicle began in 1956 when it was created to replace the ZIL-150, which was a good vehicle, but had become obsolete in many aspects. ZIL developed a design for a truck capable of carrying up to 4 tons of cargo equipped with a new V6 engine. This truck's frame was significantly stronger than any American equivalents of that time, and it had increased resistance to overload and operation on rough roads. It was possible to load more cargo than the vehicle's specifications allowed, and sometimes as much as was physically possible. The truck's frame was made up of spars with a variable channel cross-section, connected by 5 cross members. In the front, an extension cord and buffer were installed. All of this was mounted on the axles. A hipwood main gear was also included. If the lid was larger, it would be 2-stage like the ZIL-164. Regarding the strength of the frame, we can look at the sport of truck motocross. Cars were modified for that sport. Trucks would bounce a meter off the ground and then lower themselves and continue moving as if nothing happened. This strength of this model is more than enough. Semi-elliptical springs have a T shape. They are split into basic and additional types. The ends of additional springs and rear ends of main springs are sliding. Regular lubrication is necessary for their operation. The front axle of the ZIL-130 truck is uncut and features fists based on a 2-ton forged beam. There are cylindrical pins with 2 wedge-shaped pins located at a 90-degree angle. The truck also has shock absorbers and springs at the front consisting of 15 sheets and a sliding rear end. The brakes are drum brakes arranged in a circular pattern. Under the hood, the ZIL-130 houses a 6-liter gasoline engine featuring a cast iron block and aluminum heads, with a compression ratio of 6:5 and power output of 150 horsepower. This engine is a Chrysler Vate engine upgraded by engineers and used in the representative ZIL-111. Another important characteristic of the engine is its reliability, which was more significant than its power. For use in the national economy, it was slightly deforged, providing sufficient dynamics for normal operation. Maintainability was also a crucial factor in the design of the vehicle. The model has 5 gears, most of which are synchronized. In everyday use, they usually start in second gear. Second gear is used because of the gear ratio of first gear 7:44, which is why it is used for climbing hills or carrying heavy loads. The car's maximum speed is 80 km. At 40 km, fuel consumption is 28,100 km. However, in actual conditions, fuel consumption can be significantly higher by 1.5 or even 2 times. To save fuel, a GAZ-53 carburetor was installed on the 130th model, although the car industry didn't pay much attention to fuel consumption at the time. Drivers using some tricks with the fuel bills not only ensured they had enough fuel to refill the truck, but often also filled up their own car or other cars they were driving, which ran on cheap 76-octane gasoline. All the parts under the hood were easily accessible, including a pneumatic system compressor, power steering pump, and oil filter. Experienced mechanics could easily adjust the valves on this machine without much effort, actually climbing completely into the engine compartment and sitting on the side to adjust them. This model is equipped with an excellent heater, allowing you to use the vehicle comfortably even in cold weather without needing to wear extra clothing. The ZIL, with a load capacity ranging from 5 to 6 tons, has seen gradual improvement, becoming more high quality and reliable. The weight of the vehicle itself is 800 kilograms, yet it is capable of carrying loads exceeding its own weight. In Soviet classification, the ZIL occupied a position between the lighter gas 53 and heavier mass 50. The body volume without extended sides is 3.8 cubic meters, expanding to 5.1 cubic meters when extended. The hydraulic system of the vehicle includes a power take-off unit with a pump installed, which is connected to the transmission housing on the right-hand side. The tilting device consists of a power take-off pump, crane controls, hydraulic distributor, hydraulic cylinder limiting valve, hydraulic tank, and pipelines. With a good system and the proper oil viscosity, the body, supported by a stretcher, should be able to lift a load in 15 seconds, lifting more than 4 tons at an angle of 50 degrees. The body should then be lowered in 20 seconds. In farms, these vehicles require regular maintenance. In the early days, when there was no clear understanding of what draw meant, young drivers would ask experienced drivers questions, and they would reply with a grin, saying that all the bolts and nuts need to be stretched. The first model of the 130 was assembled in 1956 and was presented at the All-Union Agricultural Exhibition in 1959. 4 years later, mass production began, which lasted until 1994 at ZIL. But even after that, the vehicle continued to be produced until 2010 and, according to some sources, until 2014. At the Ural Amur plant, it was known as the Amur 530-1350. In most cases, this truck has a blue cabin and a white front end. There are several theories about this. One theory is that it is due to the abundance of blue paint in the Soviet Union and its relatively low cost. Another theory is that the designer Eric Sabo chose the combination of these colors at the design stage to make the truck more visible on the road and reduce the risk of accidents. Predecessors of the ZIL-130 were typically painted in khaki, a protective color. This truck served as the basis for various equipment modifications. The Chekhovsky bus plant used it to produce the Tajikistan 5 model. Power units and axles from ZIL-130 trucks were used in KAZ 608 and KAZ 608 trucks produced in QTZ. In 1986, the truck underwent modernization, but outwardly it hardly changed. It received a new name, ZIL-43 1410, and a multi-circuit braking system was added. The ZIL-130 truck was appreciated not only for its legendary status, but also for its ease of maintenance. Its cabin was spacious, accommodating 3 people, and its landing was very convenient for the time. Standard equipment included instruments such as an ammeter, coolant temperature sensor, fuel level indicator, oil pressure gauge, and pressure gauges for monitoring pneumatic system pressure. One gauge showed pressure in receivers, while another showed pressure in brake chambers. The truck's pneumatic system featured a receiver that could be used for various tasks, such as pumping tires or painting, thanks to air taken from it. Ventilation hatches were also a characteristic feature of the earlier versions of the ZIL-130's K. Initially, the cabin of the ZIL-130 had hatches for both the driver and passenger, but later, it was decided to keep only one hatch and then completely remove them. The ZIL-130 was one of the most popular and beautiful Soviet-made cars. The products of the car assembly plant comply with state quality standards by 75. As one experienced driver said, "I grew up with these ZILs, my grandfather worked for them. And I must say that I haven't heard anything bad about them, only positive things." At one point, the ZIL-130 was a true breakthrough. It was the most popular truck of the 20th century. ZILs are still running on our roads. The plant employed 65 people at its peak. However, effective managers came in and the factory no longer exists. On these ZIL trucks, grain was transported from the fields to the current with trailers. And children often asked to ride them. They were taken without any problems. Back then, cleaning went on day and night. They said that the day fed the year. This is a true Soviet classic. These cars are especially loved and respected. On the ZIL-130, it was said that even for inexperienced drivers, the car functioned like clockwork. There were regular technical inspections, usually in April. During these inspections, various parts of the vehicle were checked and replaced, including the bolts, steering rod tips, clutch, brake chamber diaphragms, brake pads, cross pieces, and handbrake pads. The car continued to function properly until the next inspection. The most important thing was to pass the inspection in time. Unlike the GAZ-52 and GAZ-53, the ZIL-130 didn't get stuck in potholes. The differences between these two models were obvious. Although the B8 engines and layout were similar, they were built in different ways. The ZIL was seen as a more reliable vehicle. Its engine sound alone was impressive. The GAZ-53 could be good, but only if it wasn't heavily loaded. It seemed like the ZIL was designed for freight transportation, while the GAZ-53 relied on parts from passenger cars. This led to some issues such as poor brakes and a lack of power steering, which were considered strange savings. At truck depots, drivers preferred the ZIL-130 over the GAZ-53. This was due to the fact that the ZIL had a synchronized gearbox and power steering, which made it more convenient to drive in higher gears and easier to maneuver. The ZIL-130 also had air brakes, which were effective but took some time to get used to. There were many modifications of the ZIL, including dump trucks, flatbeds, specialized vehicles, and tractor trucks. Some of these were equipped with gas cylinders. Officially, there were approximately 70 different models of the ZIL. There was also a diesel version of the truck, but it was only intended for export and was not available in the Soviet Union. Instead, imported diesel engines were used in cars that were sold by dealers. New three-wheeled models were also presented, the ZIL-133 flatted truck and the ZIL-133 tractor truck. These machines were created on the basis of the ZIL-133 GON model, which has been produced since 1975. They are significantly superior to their predecessor in terms of technical and economic performance. These vehicles are designed to operate on roads that can withstand an axle load up to 10 tons, as well as on dirt roads throughout the year, with the exception of periods of heavy rainfall. Both models operate in any climate at temperatures ranging from 40 to 40 degrees Celsius. The ZIL-130 has been widely used in urban and rural areas, as well as in northern and southern regions. Despite being a single-wheel drive vehicle with a forks-to-wheel configuration, it has excellent off-road capabilities. The car had a ground clearance of 270 centimeters, which made it feel confident on the countryside, easily overcoming obstacles. Thanks to its powerful engine, it was able to drive even at low RPMs. The ZIL-130 was a compact car with a length of 300 centimeters. It had a special body installed on it, which made moving at high speeds difficult, especially with cargo. I want to share my positive impression of this car. Unfortunately, production of these vehicles was discontinued, and they are now a thing of the past. Their design did not meet modern requirements in the 1980s, but for the conditions they were used in, the ZIL-130 was an excellent vehicle. It significantly outperformed the GAZ-51, and drivers appreciated and respected it, leaving only good memories. That's all. Thanks for watching.